one of the big things that I'm about with patients is trying to figure out, why did you get cancer in the first place?
Yeah.
Sort of root cause medicine or terrain theory, whatever you want to call it. But I really start with testing so that I can figure out what are the different variables that we need to address for that patient, because I can line up 10 patients with breast cancer that are all around the same age, same demographics. But if we do sort of our root cause testing, all 10 of those patients are probably gonna look different. Probably gonna need different things.
And what does your root cause testing entail?
Good question. So we do a lot of different types of investigations. We look at toxins, we look at gut health, we look at nutrient levels, we look at hormones, we look at inflammation, we look at stress, all the things that
Like almost like a functional medicine panel with the addition of like
exactly.
stool and something
Exactly.
else. Okay.
Exactly.
So you're just going deep on the all around diagnostics.
100%, 100%. But that could lead us in so many different ways. I mean, there's so many tools out there now between, of course, supplements and nutraceuticals, but off-label drugs have a place.
Like ivermectin. I know this is a controversial word with an I, but I did see one doctor I follow who's just posting, like, someone asked about ivermectin and cancer, and he listed like 6 ways that it was effective at.
It's the studies are tremendous. And it's like, the pandemic kind of shown this.
Yeah, it just polarized this drug that's been around for 40 years. And now we can't even talk about it without being labeled a conspiracy theorist. I'm with you. Okay. But it is.
I don't have anything to add to that.
But it is interesting.
Yes.
Like, I didn't know if there was validity to that.
There is.
So I'm
there absolutely
separated from the bias, but yeah.
And to be honest, I kind of, in some ways, there was a silver lining to the pandemic, because I didn't even realize there was that much research on ivermectin. And so it caused me to kind of go back and start looking at this stuff. But there's lots of other drugs that have shown promise, things like metformin, old diabetic drug. And
what metformin, like with what kind of cancer? I'm so curious about that.
Well, most of the studies are in breast cancer.
But you could use it in any.
You can use it in any. And again, it's not like I look at, oh, you have this type of cancer, we need to do this. I more so look at people kind of agnostic of their tumor type.
Got it.
And say, okay, this is what your terrain looks like. Because again, I'm not the one who's killing their cancer cells. That's what the conventional doctors do.
Yeah.
I'm looking at how do we heal the soil?
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, it's, we have all these different types of fancy names for cancer. It really just depends on where in the body. It's just anatomical.
Got it.
There's different types of, sarcomas and adenocarcinomas and, squamous cell carcinoma, things like that. That really just has to do with like where in the body it is and, what type of origin tissue it started in. But at the end of the day, cancer that's why we have these hallmarks of cancer, right? And we know that we thought there was only 6. Now we know there's about 10 hallmarks of cancer.
What does that mean, a hallmark of cancer?
So there was a real landmark study that was done in the early 2000s, where these 2 guys came together and they basically looked at cancers across the board, and they wanted to look at the common denominators of all these different types of cancers. They came up with what they called at that time, they called the 6 hallmarks of cancer.
Okay.
Things like immune system evasion. Cancer cells all had the ability to hide and escape our immune system, because our immune system's really, when we talk about everyone has cancer cells, well, why doesn't everybody have cancer then? Because most of us, our immune systems are working well, and our immune system has a very inherent effect where it searches and looks for cancer cells on a daily basis and detects them and gets rid of them before they become a problem. So if your immune system's working well and you're not making loads and loads of cancer, more than it can keep up with, you're going to be okay, even if you're making some cancer cells.
Got it.
Right. But these hallmarks of cancer, one was, they evade the immune system. Another one was this angiogenesis effect, where they can, once tumors get to a certain size, they can recruit new blood vessels to gain more nutrients and fuel sources and spread and grow. And so they found these 6 hallmarks of cancer. But then as time's gone on, the last 20 years, we've identified new areas that seem to fit all the different types of cancer cells. They all do these certain things. And so going back to sort of my approach, we know we need to, if we've got a fast growing cancer, patient may need to have surgery, patient may need to do some chemotherapy to get that under control. But at the end of the day, what's really going to give you that long-term control is dealing with the environment that
allowed the cancer
to really take a foothold.
Fair enough.
And so, I've kind of boiled my theory of root causes of cancer down to 3 categories. And this would be things that cause chronic inflammation. And that can be everything from diet, lifestyle, stress, lack of sleep, to chronic infections, viruses, fungus, parasites, you name it, biofilms, and then chronic toxicities. Okay. So these are things like chemicals that we're exposed
Lead
to,
exposure.
heavy
mold.
metals, mold toxins, pesticides, plastic chemicals.
Got it. Okay.
We have a very long list of carcinogens,
Yeah.
and they're, we've done a pretty good job of identifying what are the chemicals that we're exposed to that cause cancer. So, why aren't we talking about those? We all we want to talk about is treating cancer. But
Right.
nobody wants to talk about prevention, or
Mhm.
nobody wants to really have a serious conversation about prevention.
Yeah.
And prevention's different than early detection. Early detection, that's okay. Get your mammogram once you turn 40, colonoscopies, pap smears, those things. Those are early detection. That's not prevention. Okay. Now you can catch a cancer early, cut it out, and prevent someone from having an advanced stage cancer. But I'm talking about prevention where we're getting to people even earlier than that.
Yeah.
And we're teaching people how to live an anti-cancer lifestyle, use less products, eat as organic as possible for you.
Yeah.
Have at least the awareness of all these different exposures that we have in our day-to-day lives now, which is just becoming overwhelming. So number one's awareness, but then number two is giving people practical solutions on how to avoid these things, or at least reduce
the toxic
the
load
exposure and the toxic load, while also supporting their body's ability to eliminate those toxins.